Recently, we began taking you on a tour of the battles of Chickamauga and Chattanooga with National Park Ranger Chris Young. This morning, we're continuing that conversation. Absolutely, the day is stunning. It's a beautiful time of year to come down here and soak up the battlefield and all it has to offer, but any visit should begin inside at the Visitor Center. The Visitor Center is so pretty when you walk in, but you have chosen to begin our conversation. This is called the gun room. Is that where we are?
So it's technically the Fuller gun collection, named after the individuals who collected all of these weapons.
So this is not really your field of expertise. The treasure of guns here is really top in its class.
It is.
But
yeah.
the history is what you know so well. So kind of refresh my memory, Chris. We've begun almost in reverse order with our tour because the battle for Chickamauga really came first, right?
Yeah, so this battle is fought September 18th, 19th, and 20th of 1863. And if you've come along with us, we started in Chattanooga.
Right.
And so this battle happens, and then 2 months later, the battles for Chattanooga happen. We've visited Lookout Mountain, we've been to Missionary Ridge, we've been to Orchard Knob. Those are the three battles that happened 2 months after this one. So that's kind of where we are chronologically.
All right, in the order of the war then, before they came to Chickamauga, what battle had just taken place that was significant?
So just before Chickamauga is the Battle of Gettysburg in Pennsylvania, and then that is July, and then there is this hiatus until September. And some of the soldiers who fought at Gettysburg are actually fighting here at Chickamauga. So they take a train ride down from Virginia to help the Confederates win the Battle of Chickamauga.
Those of us around here know the battlefield. I mean, that's how we reference it, right? I'm heading down to the battlefield. And we take it in often for the scenery. The tower has just opened. That's always a draw for people. But you said more than 1 million people a year, non-locals, come here. They don't always come in here to the Visitor Center, and they should.
Yeah, in 2023, we counted over 1 million visitors. Those are visitors who typically use the park in various ways. Most of the people are outside, so we'll catch them coming into the park, using the park, riding bikes, hiking, whatever outdoor activity they're planning to do. And a small percentage of them actually come into the Visitor Center, whether it's here or where we were on Lookout Mountain, inside the Lookout Mountain Battlefield Visitor Center. And so I would encourage people, if they come and visit this park, that they come here and that they visit the museum that we have here at Chickamauga. This is where our film is. So if you want an overview of what happened during the Battle of Chickamauga and the battles for Chattanooga, this is the place you should come to get that overview film that's 30 minutes long, and then go out and explore the park.
Go out and see. You know, we, when we got here today, all of us commented on how beautiful the day is today. And people were out, like you said, riding bikes and taking it all in. The grounds are so beautiful, it's almost painful to think that such horror happened here.
Well, and that's one of the things that I do remind people, is that even though you take in this beautiful scenery outside, you hear birds, you see people recreating, you see deer, you see turkeys, is that we need to remind ourselves and ground ourselves in that this is a place where significant destruction and death occurred. And so even though this is a beautiful place, it's not really designed as a place of beauty. The veterans wanted to remind us that death and destruction happened here, and not just the beauty that we see around us.
And to think from the country's perspective, then, as you were just saying, that we had just gone through Gettysburg, and a few months go by, and now you have Chickamauga, which was a horrible, horrible battle. I mentioned the tower opening. What is the significance of that tower?
So the veterans of a specific brigade here, about 2,000 soldiers or so, they're going to raise funds during the turn of the century and build this tower. It's actually called the Wilder Brigade Monument, named after John Wilder, who is buried at the foot of Lookout Mountain in Forest Hill Cemetery. He became mayor of Chattanooga very briefly. So he's a Union officer. He fires the first shots into Chattanooga. Takes Chattanooga in September, fights the battle here. After the war, comes back, becomes mayor briefly, buried in Forest Hill Cemetery. But his men help raise the money to construct that tower to where he and his men fought on September 20th, 1863 during the Battle of Chickamauga.
Okay, so I'm sorry, Chris, it's been a long time
Yeah.
since I was in a history class and a long time since you and I talked. So did the Confederates win Chickamauga?
They do.
Okay, that's what I
Yes.
thought. So if the Union had won that battle, do you think it would have still continued into Chattanooga?
Possibly not. If the Confederates had lost the Battle of Chickamauga, the Union Army had already taken Chattanooga, and they were pressing down from here toward Rome, Georgia, and then eventually Atlanta. So possibly, had this battle not gone the way that it did, the Union Army may have been able to continue pressing the Confederates south, and we may have had Atlanta a year prior to when it happens with General Sherman in 1864.
It's interesting how one turn truly affects the course of history.
And this battle really does that. There is one misconstrued order on this battlefield in the Union Army that opens up a huge gap in the Union line, and Confederates pour through it. So poor communication allowed this hole to be open and Confederates to exploit it accidentally and win the Battle of Chickamauga. So these things, it just shows you that one small problem
Yeah.
or something that happens,
triumph,
that it leads to kind of this domino effect.
You mentioned kind of where this happened, I guess, on the grounds. It's extensive here, and there's a lot of, how many acres are here?
So just at Chickamauga, there's 5,300.
That's a lot of
Yes.
land. So when you hear Chris say, go out and kind of explore, see the film, and then go out and explore, kind of easier said than done.
It is.
You've got this great staff. When we came walking in, they were all smiles. People should take advantage of them, shouldn't they?
They should. And once you watch that film, we do have a brochure that we can give you that takes you on a drive of the park. We have signage that will, hopefully allow you to take that tour easily and not get lost out there on the battlefield. But it's extensive. It was the second deadliest battle of the Civil War behind Gettysburg.
Right.
So these guys who had just fought at Gettysburg in July are fighting in the bloodiest battle of the war, and then just a few months later, they've been shipped down by train, and they're fighting at the second bloodiest battle of the war. And so it's really a place for us to be humbled and to remember that even though these grounds are very inviting to bicycling on the paved surfaces or hiking on the 50 miles of trails that we have at Chickamauga, to never let go that there were soldiers and their families who sacrificed and men who never came home from this battle.
Somehow the area itself doesn't seem to let that slip past you. I came down separately to see you today, and GPS sent me Reed's Bridge Road to Lafayette, and I was going just through kind of a populous spot on Reed's Bridge, and then all of a sudden you enter the battlefield, and there's just something that shifts in you. You feel it.
Yeah, every time driving to work, I feel that, and I'm reminded, why are we here? Why do we visit this place? Why do we have all of these monuments and cannons around? And like you said, you can drive from Fort Oglethorpe or drive down Reed's Bridge Road, and you're coming out of communities, and then all of a sudden, you're coming into a forested area, and there's a difference there.
Well, let me tell you how good he is. While he and I have been talking, I think over my shoulder, there's a group of visitors who are here, and we're kind of in their way. So we're going to wrap up our conversation this morning. You'll want to be among the many people who come here on a regular basis to soak in the history and the beauty. Thank you, as always, for the history lesson.
Thanks,
We
Julie.
appreciate it.